Why, hello there, and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. Now, I'm about to get into one of the best chapters, or one of the best story arcs in all of Tower of God. It's honestly the very best. Uh, Season 3's current fights in the tower, I'm most likely not even going to hold a candle to this particular arc. And you want to know which arc I'm talking about? I am talking about the Hell Train. The Hell Train is the best of the best. Everything in this in this arc is unbelievable. The Slayer nominee quest, the revival of White, the last station, all of it is just over the top. Yeah, and you know what's making it even better? The fact that there's so much more to talk about in this than just what's being referenced. And I'm about to start up this walk up the tower, and I want y'all to know that I want everybody super hyped if you are going to get into it. If you are going to read just one arc of the entire story, no matter whether it's put out on TV in the anime or not, this is the arc that you want to read. Because no matter what they do for the anime adaptation, this arc is still going to be the best ever in this section. You're going to go from the first section where they're trying to get onto the stations. You're going to go to the next one where they're on the train. You're going to go to the next one where there's the Slayer nominee match. You're going to go on to the next part where there's the irregular training. You're going to go from the irregular training to the Floor of Death. You're going to go from the Floor of Death to the Hidden Floor, which is also intense and insane and crazy. From the Hidden Floor, you're going to go to the last station, and things just get more and more crazy as you go up on that section. So get ready for that, and let's start off with Triple One. Yeah, so Triple Nelson, bad luck number. We see that there's a call between Kun and Chibisu, and they're talking about how things are going. And we see that Chibisu is being controlled by the princesses, and that he's on the call with Kun at the same time. And we see that Chibisu's team is getting even more crazy. And we see that Chibisu congratulates the three of them on getting back together. And then we see that Chibisu's team is recommending they don't get on the Hell Train. They hear it's way too tough. And we see it's a month since the workshop battle, and everybody has been super over the top. And we see that Biol is now dropped as a name, and he's now going to be referenced to as Balm. So we're going to keep calling him Balm. I actually forgot there's the name hunt station in this arc as well, which is also another crazy piece. We then see that Emily disappeared with the whole story. We see that Fug story got set up, and we see that Kun is hunting down Rachel, Apple, and Michael. He wants to find them and kill them for what they did to his team. We then see Rak run into Kun because Quattro is chasing him around and trying to burn him up all the time. Then we see Yua is also super worried about it. She's looking at the D rank express, and she's wondering whether or not they should be part of it, the Hell Train. And she sees that any D rank regular can take the test. There are 3 top predators on this train. At the first station, you need to watch out for Sachi Faker, the ticket hunter. He's one of the top 3 D rank regulars. So that says how crazy powerful he is. And after that, there we see that there were multiple others who were also mentioned on the list for you to watch out for. We also then see that she's trying to figure out what's up with the Jahad ring that Wagdan has. And then we see Huarun walk out, and she says, we then see that Yua is studying up her destination, and we see that Huarun explains that she is their guide. We then see Warren says she does want to know, right? And doesn't she want to know the real reason why she's guiding them? And we see that Warren says she's not ready to take the path, and you better not dig too deep for information on that guy. You might find out about the worst mistake the 10 great families and Jahad had made. And she explains that she shouldn't be late to the meeting. Now, this is like triggering us all into wondering what is so special about Wagner. And we see that she also tells Iwa to bring Bam with them. And we see that Goa Singh and Wagner keep checking up on Hurriang, and they're wondering what's going on with him. And we see Wagner is really worried about himself because what he did put his teammates in danger. And we see that he referenced somebody who he calls mother, at which point we see Beta shows up and he's talking to Wagner. And we see that he's actually there to visit Hurriang, and he feels that he's like his big brother, and we see that they have a whole conversation. And we see that Wula Yuksong is making the medicine for Beta, and that's how he's getting along. We then see Ran and Novik show up to Beta, and they start talking to him. Then we see Yuva contemplating about Wagner and whether he's just like a Zigna baby that her family had hidden, and whether it's a mistake in that same class or even worse. And then we see her calling Palm, and we see that she has decided that she's going to follow Balm to the very end, and that is where 111 ends, and then we get 112. And then we see that she's shocked that he had such an innocent face under all that hair. And we see that Balm is wondering about the things outside the tower. At that point, we even see a little glimmer of his thorn shining on his back. We then see Beta is offering, Novik and Rana offering Beta to join their team. We then see that Wagner is off to the conference room, and we see that Ran basically puts up the option that he can join them or not. We then see Warrion starts to outline the entire situation. And he says here's the itinerary. In about a year, they will be boarding the Hell train. The Hell train or the D-Rank Express departs from the 35th floor, which is something which has to be discussed, right? And it's not the only place it can be boarded from, but it starts on the 35th floor, and it stops on every floor up until the final floor, and regulars can get on and off as they please. The most important thing is the express ticket which you need to ride the train. As long as you have this ticket, you can board the train regardless of what station you disembark from. You can pretty much consider this ticket a free pass. But the problem is there is no way to buy this ticket. And as she's explaining it, the only way you can get that ticket is by stealing it. There are always exactly 100 tickets for the Hell train, so while the regulars wait at the station to board, you have to steal the tickets away from them and also fend off other regulars from stealing yours. So that's why the number of regulars who end up boarding the train is always low. Like the previous year was only 5. And that's why they say the moment you get a hold of that ticket, it's basically called the ticket to hell, because you're always going to have someone trying to target you for the ticket. We then see that everyone is being expressed to that this is going to be very dangerous, and they basically are being suggested that they separate until they reach the 31st floor. And they basically are told that they can't rely on Balm for power, so they're going to have to separate and take part in their test so they can all build their strength so that they can keep up, and so that they can be qualified to look after their tickets and gain tickets on their way up. We then see Wagner say that he wants to be strong enough on his own. And we see that they all have been told that they're going to meet a year from now at Train City. And she hopes that they're all going to be plenty strong by the time they reach there. Then we see Waryun look at Kun and says, "You must be relieved. Now you have time to find Rachel behind Balm's back. That's the reason you so calmly accept." Basically, she says that there. And she says, "How do you think Balm will react if he finds out about what you're trying to do to Rachel?" And she also explains that you should be very careful for Rachel. She has even more dangerous card up her sleeve, and that he could lose to her this time if he goes there. And we also see Kun tell Waryun that she's also his enemy, regardless of anything that's happening right now. So we then see that everybody is going to be unhappy. We see that Rak is going to be going up the tower with Balm, because he's one of the more powerful members from the team, and he gets powerful really quickly just by adapting to the level of Shinsu. We then see Rachel's team is getting ready, and we see that they already have everybody with them. I'm forgetting his name, but he was the scout from the team from the Hell Train with Boro, Sachi, Daniel. Daniel is in the team, and we see Angel is also there. Then we see that they're bringing Emily back online, and that they intend to use her to cause trouble. Then we see that this team is really scary, and we find out that they're after something on the train that will make them equal to a Slayer. Then we see the teams departing, and everybody makes their way, and they basically agree that in 1 year's time they'll meet at Train City. And that is the prologue to the Hell Train as it ends at 112. And when we kick off with 113, we're already in the Hell Train arc. We now kick off with Repelista Jahad. She's playing games and eating her snacks, at which point we see that she is staying up late playing games, and Illumik is trying to get her to sleep. And basically we see that they're describing that the environment has changed. Things are very quiet this night. Then we see that Yuri is on her way there, and that she's busy fighting other Jahad rankers. And we see that Repelista called Yuri to her castle because she has something to say, and that's how come she started moving towards that level. We then see Yuri just wiping out members left, right, and center, and we see that Lumik was actually waiting for Yuri to show up, and this is how things go. She finally wipes out everybody from the Jahad rankers who were there to protect Rapalista. And then we see that she just shows up in Rapalista's room and she grabs Rapalista and she starts troubling her. We then see that Evan confronts Lumik about what's going on and why they're using the dead boy as bait. What are they trying to lead Yuri into? And we see that they start talking, and finally we see that that Yuri is the one who set Yurik on the path to get the Zigna baby so that she can get this favor from Rapalista. And we see that she hands over something to Yuri, and she gives Yuri a ticket to Revolution Road, a express train, and she says that's the D rank express. You know, you're supposed to be a D rank regular to board it, and she says the boy will be on the train in a year from now, and basically we get the whole idea of Yuri coming to the train, so a big reunion coming up for these guys. And then we see Yuri is looking at her and she's like, are you sure he's really alive after all of this time? And we see that Rapalista says yes, of course he is, and you just need to get on the train, of course. She explains that there's a way for them to board, and she basically gives that info to Yuri. And then we see Lumik is talking to Evan, and he says basically, no ordinary boy could get out of that, but the boy is an irregular. And at this point, Evan clicks a little bit to figure out that something was spooky. Then we see that Evan and Lumik's conversation ends abruptly as Yuri drags him away. Then we see Yuri say the 25th bomb is alive, and she basically explains that everything was manipulated and it's that guy on the test floor. So right now they're going to head off onto the Hell train, and basically we see that rankers aren't allowed on the train. And we see that there's a whole lot of things which are in the background of this, and we see that he says he can't believe the irregular is alive, and Rapalista wouldn't tell a lie. And if that's true and that boy keeps going up the tower, one day that boy will end up meeting Yuri again. And he guesses this is fate which can't be avoided, and we see that he heads on towards Yuri. We then see one of the trains for the train station for entering the Hell train is on its way in, and we see the regulars are all on board and they're all sitting, and we see that they all around a D rank regular martial arts expert, Boro. Now he's one of the regulars on the Hell train, and regulars in this sense, I'm not talking about their rank regular, I'm talking about the fact that he goes on it multiple times. And we see that he's held on to his ticket for a long time, And you see that he is making excuses about why he jumps on, and at that point you see that they ask him if he's ever met Sachi Faker, and they basically explain that it's not a good idea to mention such names, because if you mention Sachi Faker, that it'll be bad luck, and that they heard that a member of FUG might appear on this whole story. We see that Boro gets his interest piqued by the mention of Jovial Grace of FUG. And at that point, we see that Boro says that there's a ticket hunter in their compartment, and that ends episode 114. There's a lot to explain about Boro, and the rest of them I'll explain it at the end. Then we see that this regular hunter is walking through, and he realizes that this ticket hunter must be really superb, because he's holding his tickets in the open for everyone to see. So he gets one of the weaker regulars who are with him, who just came up from E rank, to go get him something from one of the other carts. As they're heading out in the next few seconds, you see that the ticket hunter looks at his phone and he attacks, at which point Boro has a fight with him, and we see that they're fighting him quite heavily, and they basically express that he's the ticket holder. We then see that there's a whole fight that erupts inside this compartment between Boro and this wave controller, who's a ticket hunter, and that he has 71 and 98. And we see that Boro expresses that those with higher numbers on the train are definitely going to be way more powerful, and are way beyond the level that this guy could ever imagine. And we see that the fight continues as they keep dishing out blows between each other, and eventually Boro slices him in two, because Boro is a sword expert. If you fight him with a weapon, he's basically unbeatable. That's where he is strong. But if you fight him without a weapon, he becomes really easy to defeat. He's crazy difficult to defeat like that. And we see that Emily was the one who was guiding the ticket hunter, and that's where 515 ends. And we get on to episode 516. We see the train keeps moving, and you see that he sees that Emily is the one who pointed him out, and he's wondering how in the world did this happen. And we see that there's an announcement that there's going to be a tournament at Train City before the train departs. We then see that they said that something weird happened in one of the other compartments, and they wonder what in the world is going on. We see the trains moving on, and then we see somebody firing lightning around, and we see Dan is busy hunting everybody with a ticket. And we see that he was attacked first, and after he got attacked, he just killed everybody. So yeah, he's a bit crazy. And he expresses the space is convenient. I get to kill people as much as I want just by having this ticket on me. And we see that he finally slays the last one. We then see Beta show up, and he's wondering what's going on. We see that they intend to meet Casino at the station, so they intend to catch Rachel's team. We see that even with all of this, Ran has only collected 3 tickets, and they may fail to find more. Only 3 out of them will be able to board the train. but the train isn't the only place where they can get tickets. So worst case scenario, they will have to meet up to split up and meet again at the station after going up the tower separately. We see that they refer to the fact that Emily is back and that they're wondering whether Casanova is up to something. We then see Bam asking them if they have a ticket, and he's looking at them. He says he's looking for a team who will help him join the tournament, and that is where episode 116 ends. We go to episode 117. We then see Bam explaining a little bit there that he needs to get some help to join the stuff on the Hell train for that mission to get the ticket. He then shows that Emily announced that there's going to be a tournament at the station. We then see that they're explaining that it's something which is new for the younger ones and that they've been using it to get info from Emily. And we see Bam explains that those who are about to board it will kill everybody if they don't manage to pull this off. So we see that it goes back to Ran's team, and Ran is saying that it's obviously a trap and that they're going to have to go through all of this. We then see Danny saying he's still the fastest for sure, and they're wondering what about AA, and a text just came in that AA will be a day late. We see that they express that's not like Kun, and basically they're wondering what's going on. So we see everybody else is busy at each other and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. It's obviously just a little bit of banter while everybody's wondering how crazy the situation is going to be. And we see that the train is arriving at Train City. Then we get Bam explaining that everyone on the Hell train will die because their plan is to use Emily to gather people and have their tickets, to seize all the tickets and board the Hell train. Because the number of tickets is limited, they will take over the train. That's why he's gathering people to fight against them. And basically Bam explains that Fug and Rachel are responsible for this. And then on another train we see Daniel hunting people and eating their souls as he kills them, because he needs to do that there with the way that he survived the Hell train. And that's where we see it end at 117. We then move on to episode 118, and things are getting a little bit more heated. We see they start talking about it. And we see that once Bam mentions Fug, Boro changes his reaction. And we see Boro instantly joins his team the moment Fug is mentioned, because Fug has interfered with the train before, and Boro has a personal history with all of this. We then see that they're going to pull the other two regulars on the train in with them to join in on their trip for the tournament. We then see that Warrior explained to them that there's going to be a tournament at Train City with tickets on the line. There is an important member of Fug assigned to Train City. Fug knows that you will board the train, so I'm sure they will do everything they can in order to capture you there. Also, there is a chance that Karaka might appear on the Hell train, So he's basically explaining that if Bam pursues Rachel, this year won't be easy. And we see that it's basically explained that they need to have disposable teammates. And then at this point, we see Boro tells the two guys on his team to just go in and get the tickets from those guys who stole it from the hunter he killed. And basically they have to get the ticket on their own. And then we see that he gets pulled down very easy. And we see that eventually Boro and Bam end up jumping in and taking the tickets away from them. We then get another pitch from another D-rank regular, and that is Yura Ha. Now we see that she's a famous pop star, and that's what she's been using, and she is basically drawing more people towards the station. And we see that she has Bam's picture and a ticket for the train as well. And that is where 118 ends and 119 starts. And remember, I did say that I don't like calling him Bam because I suspect Bam isn't his real name, just the way that Rachel has been manipulating him. We might get to find this out later, and you know, this is going to be quite cool. We then see Boro talking to the other two who are with him, and we see that the other one was in their team. Felix was injured, and they're basically just giving her some care. They explain the whole situation to her, and we see that the stewardess is actually going to be taking part on that, and that she is a big fan of Yuraha as well, and basically that they're all doing these crazy things and that they want to become idols and more powerful. And we see that Bam is just left dumbfounded because these aren't things that he dreams about. And we see that both Felix and the stewardess express everything about her, and they're super hyped about it. Then we see Boro explain that in order to get into Train City and to get onto the train, that some of them might die. Then we see them finally arrive at Train City, and there's this big elevator that they need to do to get to the right area. We see everybody is getting off and getting into the stuff, and we see that there's a big sign saying "Welcome to Train City" at each of the entrances to the elevator. We then see that there are multiple things listed on the elevator door about what is at which level. We then see Kunran decide they're going to go straight to the entrance. We then see Boro speaking with Bam, and he's explaining that they're going to go meet up with the rest of his friends, and he basically goes looking through the stuff, and he says that they're going straight to the residence, and we see that they click residence instead of going to entrance. And then we skip on to episode 120. We see that they list off all of the places, and that one of the places they want to go look at is the SkyTrain platform. And then we also see that Boro mentions that you don't want to go to the entrance because there will be a guardian waiting over there, and that it's better to first meet his friends than go and challenge a guardian. And we see that the lift moves along at a slow pace. It's not very fast. And we see Boro ask if one of Bam's friends is a guide, and basically we see they ask everything, and Baum asks what is a guardian, and we see that it said that they guard the entrance till the next day when everybody has to board the train, and that they're just about as tough as they come. And then we go over to Kun, Ran, and the guardian, and we see that they start a little fight with him, and we see that he tells them that they need to stop, the gate won't open, it's not yet time. Then we see that they start fighting, and as soon as they start fighting, they switch over back to Baum, and they head up to the residence. And we see that Boro says that it will be better for people to live quietly if they got away from Fug. Then finally the train keeps moving up, and we see Waryun explains that this time he's going to need to get teammates. But the point of finding new teammates is not to have more teammates to protect, but to have teammates who you can throw away in a fight. And basically that the whole idea behind the members he's gathering right now is to have teammates who he doesn't have to look after or protect later on down the line, just to have people who he can dispose of, because he needs to learn this lesson about the tower. We then see the Guardian firing multiple spears at Ran's team, and we see that Ran ends up fighting him with the trace already active, so he took the lightning pearl immediately to start this fight, and that is where this ends. So let's talk about this in general, because as I said, this is part of the most interesting chapter. The whole idea behind the station is that if you come here, you need to qualify to go up to the Hell Train. And once you qualify to get onto the Hell Train, there's more parts which go up as you're going up onto the Hell Train that make up this entire crazy adventure you're about to take part in. Now, obviously, there's some parts that I've skimmed over that are very important. Like Boro is part of one of the most powerful teams. Him, Sachi Faker, A.K. Williams, Boro, Sachi Faker, A.K. Williams, Daniel, and they had another teammate who ended up sacrificing herself on the Hell Train. I'll remember her name at another point. I think I know her name, but I don't want to give her name right now. I think her name is Ruina or Roina. I'm not exactly sure, but she ended up sacrificing herself to save them from Fug on the train, and Fug interfered with the Hell Train once when they first boarded the train, and they've been going through the train year after year trying to find the pieces of her soul to try and pull her back together and revive her from a ritual that she did to separate the legendary Slayer who was on the train. And the legendary Slayer who was on the train was White. And with this year's Hell Train, things are about to get more crazy because Karaka is going to be there. He has a reason to be there because he wants to capture Viol and then melt him down into the thorn so that he can use the thorn himself. So he has a way to fight Jahad. And although he's growing at an alarming rate, he's not growing fast enough to even match Baum's growth rate. The next thing, which is of critical importance, is who is hidden on the Hell Train and what had happened. And we find out that White was one of the legendary slayers later on in the chapter. He's really powerful. He's part of the top 50 in ranking, basically, in the tower when he was complete ranker. He's from the Ari family. I think it would be Ari, not Ari. They two families which are too similar. It makes it too hard to give the name. So nonetheless, White is actually composed of 4 regulars who combined into one to form a new individual with Hakin or Joaquin as their center, and he is their center. He is the dominant personality of White. Then we do get introduced, actually it's 5 regulars make up White. It's Joaquin, Daniel, the 2 girls, I'm forgetting their names. One is a small girl who uses a spell, and the other is another girl who uses a sword. And last but not least is one of the other brothers whose name I can't remember. I remember Daniel because of the whole story with Wagner when he possessed him, and I'm forgetting the other brother's name even though he's part of the active story right now. It's just the way that it goes with me and names. But anyway, yeah, those are the 5 that make up White. It forms a very important part down the line, and everything that's happening over here when they activate Emily, remember Emily is a weapon and she's being used however she is. If she's being ignited, she might have abilities that they don't know about, and because she's being used in a social manner, they find out that she can actually change the paths people take in the tower, so she can change the fate of people. And this is all because of the influence of Rachel. So because a regular is using her, things get more crazy overall. So that is the way that things go. I hope that I do make enough sense with this one. Yeah, this is getting really crazy, and it only gets more crazy till the point where they get onto the Hell Train. And finally, when Balm gets onto the Hell Train, things just go from level 1 to level 100. So see you all in the next one, and have a good day.